Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I am Linnea Nelson, a member of this congregation and the worship chair of the Worship Associates team here at 1U. And with me in today's service are our affiliated minister, the Reverend Kierstin Homblette Allen, our director of music, Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, chalice lighters Yvonne Bassel and Joan Nelson. Nikki Drum and Rachel Gardner are on our special blessing team today. And Jenny Lockington is our soloist, and our accompanist is Danny Monzon Villegas, and board member Ted Nelson will invite you to generosity. Reverend Margalie will be back in the pulpit next week, and our director of religious exploration is Judith Stein-Farrall, and she's here today, but she is in RE all morning. So let's not also forget our teams of wonderful people in the background working diligently to ensure that this service comes together this morning. So thank you. And Reverend Kierstin, a little bit about her. She's our congregation's affiliated minister, which means she does her primary ministry outside of this congregation, but offers worship services, classes, and other small things here at 1U to support Reverend Margalie. Her primary ministry is serving as the program director of Beloved Conversations, which is a racial justice program run by our Unitarian Universalist Seminary in Chicago, Meadville, Lombard. She was raised here at this church, and her family attends here as well. So welcome back to the pulpit, Reverend Kierstin. Children will go to supervised free play after we sing them out after the time for all ages, and the nursery is open until noon. Our youth will stay with us in the service today. We greet you this morning, old friends and new ones, as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to the community. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we are a non-creedal community that does not subscribe to a specific set of beliefs. We live by a covenant that encourages ethical behavior, affirms democracy, celebrates the worth of each individual, and unites us in a search for truth in meaning. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, you are welcome here. Whoever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here. In this community, your whole self is welcome. We welcome your race, national origin, immigration status, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. We welcome you. For more information about our congregation and announcements, go to orlandouu.org or email info@orlandouu.org. We have a couple of special announcements today. The Green Team is hosting an EV show and a refillery store called Good Fills in the parking lot near the garden after services today, where they will also be hosting coffee hour at the garden. So if you want your coffee, head that way. Also today, from the Operations and Safety Team, a representative from Project Opioid will be in the assembly room today from 12 to 12:30. We'll be learning more about Narcan and how to use it safely. Anyone interested is welcome to join the safety team in this learning session. And parents with children attending religious enrichment this morning, please note that our Jubilee Kids class is jam-packed with content. And as a result, we do not end class until 11:45. Please take a few extra minutes after the service to have some snacks or beverages and mingle, and then pick up your children from the Enrichment Center classrooms. Next Sunday after the service, Reverend Margalie and Judith are leading a deep dive discussion into the proposed Article 2 changes for our UUA bylaws and why you want to understand them. Please consider joining them for this valuable time together. And all other announcements are on the slides. There's a lot going on here before and after the service, and have links in the weekly update and on our website. If you would like to follow along to the service, please use the QR code shown in the monitor and on the first few slides. Thanks again for being here in person and online today.
Ready? Please say the words with me as we light the chalice.
in the light of truth, and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing 3 verses of our opening hymn number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. The words for all hymns will appear on the screen above.
Good morning. As Linnea said, I'm Reverend Kierstin Homblette Allen, and I serve as an affiliated minister here at 1U. And I have the honor to lead worship for and with y'all a couple times a year, and I'm really excited to be here with you this morning. Our worship service today is inspired by the gathering that our congregation hosted yesterday called Beyond the Binary, which was supported by our Unitarian Universalist Association's Southern Region. I know there are some folks here who were in attendance, so I'd love it if you'd wave or otherwise make yourself known. Yes, thank you. We had a great turnout. For those of you who are not able to be here with us, I wanted to bring some of that experience and learning here for you this morning through our worship service, and also deepen the conversation and experience for those who were able to be here. So this morning, get ready, because we're going to move beyond the binary and into the expansiveness of the gender universe. To begin, I offer you this call to worship from my colleague in ministry, the Reverend Sharon Wiley. You are welcome here, all of you. Every part of you is beautiful just the way you are. Here, you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. You have nothing to prove to anyone here. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, it's all beautiful, just the way you are. You are extraordinary, each and every one of you different from each other and beautiful in your own way. It is breathtaking to behold. Let us worship together. And now greet the beautiful people around you for just a few moments. All right, so this is our time for all ages, and I'm going to invite anyone who wants to join me up here on this carpet to come up. The pictures for our book today will be on the screen, but if you'd like to see them a little closer or just hang out with me, come on up. Hello, hello. So, as you might have heard me say already, this morning our worship service is focused on gender. Who can tell me what gender is? Yeah. Gender is something important to you. That's very true. Yes. A social construct, also true. Let's break that down a little bit more. All right, anybody else have a thought about what gender is? This is kind of a hard question. Want to add a little more? Yeah.
It's what you identify as. It's basically like the name for what you suppose pronouns are. And remember, it is not your sex and it does not affect your biology.
You have learned about this before, I think. I love it. Yes, so gender is something about you that you know about yourself, and it's a way to talk about how you feel about yourself, right? And what was the last thing you said?
It is different from your sex, which means it does not affect your biology.
It's different from your sex, and it does not affect your biology. Yes. I think these kids could lead this worship service themselves. So, one way that we show respect for people's gender is by using the pronouns that they ask us to use when we're talking to them. And so we're going to read a book to learn a little bit more about that. I'm guessing you may already know this, but this is for everyone. So this is called the Pronoun Book. How do you know what someone wants to be called? Ask. She. Some people want to be called she. And I love these pictures. I want us to look carefully at this because this really corresponds with what Susanna was telling us, right? Gender may or may not have anything to do with how you look on the outside. So if someone says they want to be called she, we call them she, right? No matter what they look like or what we think their gender might be. Some people want to be called he. Same idea here, right? All kinds of people might like to use the pronoun he. Another pronoun is they. More and more people are starting to use the pronoun they. It's good to practice if this is hard for you to incorporate into your talking. Another pronoun is her. Does this go with another pronoun we already mentioned usually? Which one? She. So a lot of times people who like she also use her, right? Another pronoun is him. Some people like to be called or referred to as him. Another pronoun is them. Which pronoun does this go with usually? Yeah. They. Sometimes people like to be called they and use them. Hers. All kinds of people might like to use the word hers to refer to them, or her, is what I should have said. His. People can look all sorts of different ways and choose the pronoun his. Theirs, that looks like fun, looks like they're going to a party. All together, what pronoun do we use all together? You got it ready for the last page? You think you can predict it? Yeah.
I think all together means us.
Us. All together is us, or we. That's right. It could be we too. And I love this picture. This picture really shows us the diversity of all kinds within our community, right? And no matter what pronouns people choose to use, they are part of us. And one way that we show respect is that we use the pronouns that people ask us to use. Your gender, like you said, is about knowing who you are inside and out. And that is worthy of respect from other people. And you are beautiful and unique. No one in the whole world experiences gender the way that you do, no matter if you use the same pronouns or different pronouns from people. And here at our church, we like to celebrate that. We like diversity. We think it makes us better. So one way that we are going to honor our specialness today with the grown-ups is that we're going to do a glitter blessing. But I thought that you might like to go first and show the grown-ups how this is done. So if you want to, I will put a little bit of glitter in aloe gel that's not going to spill all over the carpet onto your hand or your face, somewhere that might feel special to you, and offer you a little blessing, okay? And you can show the grown-ups how it's done for when they get to do it later. Sound good? And if you don't want one, you just say, I don't want one, no thank you. All right, let's do it. And now we'll ask the grown-ups to form an arch to sing you out to your classes. Thank you so much for doing that with me.
Good morning. I'm Ted Nelson, and I serve as the treasurer on the board of your trustees. I've been asked to tell you that the glitter used today is biodegradable and edible, which we purposely didn't mention to the kids, but we hope that reassures everybody else. But I've got my eye on you, Andy, so no eating the glitter later, right? We invite you now into the practice of generosity. It's one of our spiritual values, and it sustains the life and the ministries of this church community. Let us be grateful for the opportunity to give. It's a privilege to be able to do that. And let us be grateful for our needs, for they give us the opportunity to practice receiving. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of April is Seniors First, a nonprofit organization that works to improve the quality of life and overcome obstacles so seniors can continue to live at home. They provide Meals on Wheels program in Orange County as well. For this month and the next, 50% of each offering will be donated in support of our Share the Plate partner. This month is Seniors First. You may also designate 100% of your donation specifically to 1U or to the Shared Plate partner by noting that in the memo section on a check. This is an opportunity to expand our generosity for our Share the Plate partners for the entire month. Please note this is on a trial basis for 3 months. The offering will now be collected. Note that you can also give online using the link.
To face the world.
and fellowship. Thank you.
This is the time in our service we set aside for deep sharing of our hearts and for prayer and meditation. If you have a sorrow that you have witnessed or helped with, or have a joy that you wish to share, please contribute to our collective sharing of joys and sorrows to be read each Sunday during worship. You can send an email to joysandsorrows@orlandouu.org during the week. If you are attending in person, you can also fill out a card at our registration table outside the door and hand it to an usher before the start of the service. Bring your joys and your sorrows as we come together. Come as you are. Your whole self is welcome in this sacred space we are creating together. From our congregation this morning, to celebrate today's flowers that are so gorgeous, brought this morning by Catherine Baccaro, to thank all those who contributed their special heart for our Hearts for All banner. I wanted to let you know that Danuta Bach is successfully recovering from surgery for a blocked artery in her heart. She's in rehab and will be home soon. Phone calls are welcome. Sandy Pollock would like to let her community know that on Friday, her mother entered hospice care. She's been battling quite bravely a terminal lung disease for 5 years called IPF. She remains at home where she wants to be until the end. Sandy asks that you all keep her and Cindy, her spouse, in your hearts through this difficult transition. As you might have heard by now, our longtime member Nancy Kellman passed away last week on April 22nd. As a beloved member, she will be missed tremendously. A date has now been set for her memorial service. The family has chosen Sunday, May 12th at 1 p.m. This celebration of life will take place here at 1U. I hope you can join us. And from our larger community, last Sunday marked Non-Binary Parents' Day. We honor all of who you are and all of how you nurture and care. We celebrate the sacredness of your relationship and role. We hope maybe you got a little extra sleep and a cute homemade card. We offer continued prayer for the end of suffering, for those living in war zones. May the fighting cease, and may all people be able to return safely to their homes and loved ones. We also lift up the bravery of students and faculty on college campuses across the country this week, including here in Orlando, taking risks and organizing together to denounce the killing of Gazans and demand their schools not be complicit. May their voices be heard, and may we be inspired to our own brave actions in solidarity. Amen. And we hold with tenderness those Jews gathering around the Passover table this week in joy and tears. May the spirit of freedom and collective liberation blow through all of our hearts. And may all be well. For all the joys and sorrows of this community shared today, and for those held close to our hearts, let us pray and celebrate and send each other healing energy. Our prayer this morning is adapted from the work of Cole Arthur Riley. God of our truest names, Holy One, Spirit among us, remind us that you yourself contain multitudes. let us encounter the divine that refuses to be contained by human definition or imagination. Help us to remember that we are not singular, that we are free to be more than one thing. Protect us from a world intent on narrowing our selfhood. Protect those with the courage to stay true to themselves. May their liberation be multiplied in all who encounter it. Guide each of us as we honor the sacred spectrums within ourselves and one another. There is a multitude in us, and we will not be reduced. Amen. Today, Linnea is going to light one candle for all of our joys and sorrows, both named in this space, with our beloveds online, and held in our hearts. You will be invited up in a bit for a different kind of blessing. So I just want to mention again the gratitude that I have for everyone who had a role in making yesterday's Beyond the Binary event such a success. Everyone behind the scenes, everyone in front of the mics, everyone who worked so hard to meet everyone's needs, and especially Judith, our own Judith, who was our team lead for this congregation. Please thank her if you see her. I'm proud that so many people turned out for this event, seeking to expand their own understanding of gender, how it functions in our world, as well as within ourselves. I'm especially glad for this because I sometimes think there's a dynamic when we're educating ourselves on issues of injustice for those of us who hold privilege in that particular realm to understand ourselves as separate from that injustice. We are there to better understand others or learn to be good allies, which is important work. But I also think that when it comes to these kinds of issues, such as gender, those of us who are cisgender or who don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about gender need to remember that our work is also to understand what is within, in addition to what is out there in the world around us. To ask ourselves deep questions about our own gender, the way we choose to express it, and how we too are impacted, albeit lesser ways, how we are constrained and made smaller by the false dichotomy of the gender binary so prevalent in our culture. I'm going to pause for a moment and just offer a couple quick definitions in case some of these terms are new for you, because I want us all along on the learning. So when I say those of us who are cisgender, I'm referring to those of us whose gender identity, or how we identify ourselves, how we know ourselves to be, is in alignment with the sex we were assigned when we were born by medical professionals. This is different from those of us who are transgender, whose gender identity is different from the sex we were assigned at birth. It's also different from those of us who identify as non-binary or outside of the gender binary entirely. When I refer to the gender binary, I'm talking about the understanding that's deeply ingrained in our white, US American larger culture that there are only two genders, woman and man, and that they're totally separate and somehow opposite of each other. And that these two genders come with a ton of gender norms that dictate how we behave, how we dress, what our bodies look like, what we're interested in, and so much more. So this weekend in this space, and in many other times and spaces, people have worked hard to go beyond that binary, to explore other possibilities for how we can be ourselves. I'm very grateful for the people who've pushed on those societal boundaries, tried to stretch and break apart those boxes to make their way into this expansive gender universe where there's more possibility and freedom and joy. As it is with many social movements, the work that's happening to reimagine and expand gender beyond binaries and boxes today is reliant on the movements of the past over so many people's lifetimes, movements that fought for personhood and agency and rights for women, movements that tried to expand what it meant to be a woman or a man, pushing against gender norms that limited the roles in society or what people could wear or be or do. All of these previous expansions of possibility inspired an open space for the understanding of gender that's expanding today. It's all connected. It reminds me a little bit of our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition, growing out of Christianity, and over many years doing the slow, often dangerous, sometimes deadly work of expanding what it meant to be a Christian, pushing on that box, making more room for people, and then eventually breaking through and beyond Christianity into an expanded understanding of religion, going beyond creed and common theology, that allows for multi-faith families to worship together and for individual people to flow freely between belief systems and practices, everyone from atheists to agnostics to theists worshiping together in the same community. We heard a few weeks ago from our youth group here in this pulpit who shared deeply and profoundly in worship about their own experiences of gender and the role that our church can play in supporting their ongoing growth and exploration. I'm very proud that we're a community that can be a safer space for our youth to connect with each other, with themselves, and with a larger love that surrounds them as they move into their future. I think this can be a place for all of us to do that kind of work. So I see this line or this chain of connection that runs through history, through community, through families, that's fostering ever greater possibility and expansiveness for all of us. And I also see the ways that our connections to those who come before us can limit the breadth of our vision or our understanding of what's possible. Each new generation has also had to push against old understandings that no longer work for us about gender and so many other things. This is all of our work too, to decide if what we have inherited from others is life-giving and helps us to be ourselves, or to move away from things that have kept us stuck in ways that don't serve us or cause harm to ourselves or other people. Sometimes we have to break those chains that keep us tied down to old harmful ways of being. Those sneaky beliefs and binaries and norms and role models that we know up here in our heads are not true or helpful or loving, but that have still made their way into our spirits. Old ideas about gender, for example. So I want each of us to take a moment right now and think about a gender norm or an expectation or a limit that was placed on you. Perhaps by your parents or your family, perhaps by your peers, maybe a teacher or a doctor, some other source of influence in your life. How has that narrow understanding of who you could be impacted your life? How has it shaped your understanding of your own self? How has it narrowed what's been possible for you? We are who we are because of those who have constrained and limited us, as well as those who have pushed and stretched us, for better or for worse. Our own sense of our gender and that of others is inextricably connected to other people, the ways that they have taught us what is possible in our lives. And our own sense of gender and that of others is also potentially connected to those who are in our world now and in our future. Right now, at this moment, our collective understanding of gender and what's possible and available for each of us is expanding at a really rapid pace. There are gender innovators and outlaws and mavericks and explorers all around us, even here in this room, coming up with new words and concepts that make room for a diversity of human expression that many of us never understood or embraced or knew was possible before. It's exciting and joyful and dizzying as this binary gets broken open wide. Our keynote speaker at the event yesterday was a drag king named Buck Wild. If you don't know what a drag king is, I want you to put that on your list to Google when you get home. In his talk, Buck explained to us about his understanding of himself as gender fluid, flowing freely over time between multiple personas, all of whom have vastly different gender presentations and expressions. This is my current gender presentation as I bring it to you today, he said. I'm tirelessly working through my own gender chaos. It was really beautiful to witness the result of the years of intentional thought and exploration of self that have gone into Buck's own gender understanding. I feel very grateful that over the course of my life, I've had the chance to learn about gender and have had my heart blown open over and over again by the gender possibilities shown to me by people in my queer community and in the transgender community and those at the intersection of both. Their hard work and their real risk and their joyful, creative exploration in their efforts to understand themselves and express themselves authentically has made more room for me to do the same as a cisgender queer person. It's work that we all need to do. So I want you to take another moment now and think about something that makes you feel a sense of gender euphoria, or a strong sense of authenticity and alignment with your gender identity and expression. Maybe this is a piece of clothing. Maybe this is a way of moving your body. Maybe this is a grooming ritual or a piece of music. Maybe this is when someone uses your pronouns correctly or really sees you for you, or something else entirely that I'm not even thinking of. For me, it's bright red lipstick and big earrings and a fresh shave. If you come up with something, I want you to write it on the Post-it note that you got when you came in. It could be a word or a phrase or a drawing or a feeling. I'm going to invite you to put them up here on the windows a little bit later so we can witness the gender joy of our community together. Not yet. Don't get up yet. Oh, not you, Marianne. You get up. Yes. So if you don't have one of these, Marianne just got up, and you could raise your hand if you need a Post-it if you did not receive one when you came in. So I recently came across a post about this on social media. One person wrote, "I'm a cisgender guy who became a lot more secure and comfortable in his masculinity after listening to transgendered people talk about what makes them masculine or a man. I used to think I was failing to meet some sort of natural standard of masculinity, and it made me very depressed. But when I heard them explain the idea of you are a man because you just are one, or because you choose to be one, I was able to accept that for myself, and it made me a lot happier." Another person on that same post said, "The growing acceptance of trans and gender nonconforming people has actually made me, a fairly traditionally feminine cisgender woman, feel so much more comfortable in my own womanhood. I'm a woman because I say so, not because I'm fulfilling certain roles or look a certain way or because I need to pop out a baby. We as cisgender people really need to discuss our own positive experiences that have happened because of growing trans acceptance. Cis people, while not the primary target of that acceptance, also benefit. A rising tide lifts all boats, right? Even though I can never repay all the friends, family, colleagues, and strangers who've helped me to deepen and complexify my own understanding of gender, I work hard to pay it forward into the next generation, particularly in my role as a parent. I was sitting on the couch the other day with my daughter Esme, who is 6. We've tried to teach her an expansive understanding of gender since she was small, but it's not always easy to know what is sunk all the way in. So she says to me, apropos of nothing, "You know what I'm really excited about, Mama? I can't wait to find out what Sydney's gender is gonna be. I wanna know if he's gonna be a girl or a boy or both or neither." My wife and I have tried to help her understand that gender is an internal knowing of oneself, and it includes more options than girl or boy, man or woman. In 6-year-old language, we've called those both and neither, but really those words stand in for a whole constellation of possibilities. And we've also taught her that we can't know someone's gender without them telling us what it is. Sydney is her younger brother, who's 2 and doesn't talk much yet. So the gender suspense is killing Esme. "Oh," I said, "me too. I'll be so excited to know when Sydney tells us." But then I reminded her that even at 6, Esme is still not always sure if she's a girl, or both, or neither. "That's true," she says. "We might not know Sydney's gender for a long time. Maybe not till he's 7. Or 35. I said, "That sometimes does happen. People discover new things about themselves all the time at any age. Or he might tell us when he's a kid, and then he tells us something different when he's a grown-up. We'll have to keep listening to him." "Okay, Mom," she said, and then she's off to something else, and our deep gender conversation is on hold for another time. This is one of innumerable conversations about gender she and I have had over her 6 years of life. I know that the learning and growing and exploring that I do, both for myself and with my children as they grow and change, is an ongoing process. They may even share with me their own gender identity one day, perhaps at 35, but I won't even try to predict the number of options that will be available to them by the time they're that old. In the meantime, I do know that as an individual and as part of a beloved community, I have a responsibility to support those around me, like our youth group, as they explore and declare who they are and who they're becoming. This is an incredible strength of our Unitarian Universalist communities, our commitment to honor the worth and dignity of each person and to reflect back to them the love and support that they deserve. I want to leave you with a story from one of my colleagues, the Reverend Joanna Fontaine Crawford, who's a UU minister in Austin, Texas. She tells a story about a little boy in her congregation who delighted in painting his fingernails like his mom and sister. His delight was cut short when he began to be bullied at school. His mother shared what was happening with friends at church, and somehow the word got out to the men. So the following Sunday, men of all ages showed up at the church with painted fingernails. Some even brought bottles of polish so that the men who hadn't heard the news could paint their fingernails too. That little boy's face lit up with wonder and joy. "It was one of the most loving things I've ever seen," Reverend Crawford says. "I have no idea what I preached on that day, but it didn't matter, because the most powerful sermon was happening out in our fellowship hall with those bottles of nail polish." That Sunday, people of all ages learned about a different type of masculinity. They learned a new way of being an intentional, intergenerational village raising that child. And it all flowed from compassion, wanting to give a little boy the message that his authentic self is beautiful and worthy of being imitated by others, even by people much older than he. And I wonder, too, how many of those men were given a chance to try nail polish for the first time in their life, having never believed that femininity was available to them. I wonder if that little boy also made space for another person to discover that joy within themselves and to break through the constraints of their own gender box, too. We are all born without any concept of the gender binary or gender norms or boxes or limits on who we are, how we dress, how we move, who we love. Just as we are tied and connected to all of those who've come before us and all those who will follow, we are also tied to that child within each of us, who had a strong connection to self, a sense of joy and exploration, no preconceived notions or limits, and a spark of truth that was ready to be fostered. We honor that child within us with our relentless search for authenticity and gender joy now. Cole Arthur Riley says, "I'm convinced that most of the time you spend finding yourself is really just the practice of admitting who you already know yourself to be in the deepest parts of you." We can move beyond the binary together, friends, into the constellation of gender possibilities. May we companion each other well on this sacred journey. And to top it all off, today we're going to have a glitter blessing in recognition of the sacred beauty inherent in every person. When Reverend Margalie planned her dirt ritual last week, I didn't know that we were going to be doing something very similar 2 weeks in a row. And so I want you to sort of imagine it as bookends of one ritual. The earth that connects us and grounds us here, the glitter that allows us to move among the stars. Glitter has long been a symbol for the LGBTQ movement of that gritty, sparkly hope in the face of prejudice and oppression, of joy and pride in the face of hatred and bigotry. Glitter is resilient and tenacious. It sparkles because it's many different broken pieces coming together, changing in every moment as the light hits it. Glitter reminds us that we are, in the words of the fabulous Alok, stars in a constellation that does not compete but amplifies one another's shine. The glitter we share with each other today is a reminder that each of us is beautiful in our sacred imperfection, our ever-changing selves, our glorious plurality. It's also non-toxic and suspended in an aloe gel, so it's safe for your skin. So as the piano music begins, I'm going to invite you to circle around the back of the sanctuary and leave your Post-it up on the glass doors on this side, and then come forward to either myself, Nikki, or Rachel, or Linnea here in the front. Then, if you choose to receive a blessing, you can let us know where on your face or your hands you'd like to be blessed, and then circle back to your seat. If you cannot come forward today, but you'd like to receive this blessing, you can raise your hand and Linnea will come to you in the pews. And whether you are near or far, witnessing is also participating. So watching and holding space is an important role to take as well. If you do not wish to receive a blessing today, or you're with us online, please help us hold the space by serving as a ritual, as a witness to this ritual. Okay. As we come to the close of this ritual, I want you to look around at the beautiful, shining, sparkly faces that surround you, at the amazing thing that is our bodies gathered in this sanctuary space together. Every body in this sanctuary and beyond it is holy. Every way we present, express, and understand our various genders is a blessing. Every person is a sacred being made of stardust. We marvel at how extra glittery we are today and how fabulous we are every day. May you return to this knowledge again and again of the beautiful spark within you. And if you'll join me in singing our closing hymn, Return Again, you may rise if you are willing and able.
Return again, return again, turn to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, turn to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, turn to the home of your soul.
So this week, our benediction is also our call to action. Pass along this blessing, friends. Pay it forward. Notice how someone near you is shining, especially if they're doing it in an out-of-the-box, beyond-the-binary kind of way. And let them know that you see their sparkle and that it is beautiful. And on your way out, be sure to take a moment to appreciate what others have shared about what that makes them come alive. Our worship has ended and our service begins.
Please join with me in extinguishing our chalice this morning. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry with us till we are together again.
Go home. But if you don't.
acknowledge that